Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals publish to inform their consumers, to grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable experts, and in this case, attorneys with a specialty in elder law. Joining me on this segment is Nancy Hermansen. She's an attorney with Hermansen Law based out of Newport Beach, California. Nancy, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me today.
Nancy, I know that elder law is such a broad topic. So please share with us a little bit about your areas of specialty and the types of clients that you help.
Yeah, so you're correct. Elder law does cover a lot of areas. And for me, I do focus mostly on the planning side and helping the senior population, the elderly population, plan for their lifetime as well as after their death. So I do more, let's say, the financial side of things, work with financial planners and accountants and so forth, and more so than like elder abuse or something like that. Sometimes people get those two terms confused, but it's a good, it joins well with estate planning.
So on the planning side of things, when is the right time to start planning in this situation? Because I know, aging is a sensitive subject. So I imagine people kind of put it off and maybe get caught off guard. When's the right time to start planning?
Thank you. That's a great question. So I always say the earlier the better. It's often the children who are kind of in that sandwich generation that is so common right now with kids as well as aging parents. They're actually often the target point that we try and enter the conversation with to get their parents motivated to come in. Because we want to intervene, we want to get a plan in place while the senior adult is still competent and can make their own decisions. It's much better to enter before they have any kind of diagnosis with dementia or Alzheimer or anything like that, and they still can make decisions for themselves. So one can, so that's the sooner the better is always my go-to when I'm talking about when should they start planning.
Yeah, one of the reasons this topic even came up and why it was so important for us to shed some light and awareness on this now is, especially during COVID, I hear a lot of conversations around in my circles about, oh my gosh, my parents, my grandparents were going through this right now. And frankly, I hear terms thrown around like if they don't have power of attorney, they could lose their house to the state or something like that. Can you shed some light on some of the dangers of not being properly prepared and maybe shed some light on some myths or misconceptions out there around elder law?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very complex topic and it's very state specific as well. So it's not a do-it-yourself kind of environment that you really want to enter into. You really do want to work with professionals who are familiar with the best strategy because there are multiple strategies that can be used. In California, one of the things we always want to avoid is probate or going to court or having to go to court for conservatorship if someone can't make their own decisions and no power of attorney has been put in place, no healthcare agent has been put in place, we actually have to go to court to make those decisions. And it's a stranger, a judge who doesn't know anyone, and anyone can come in. It's public. It's not free either. That's the other message I'd like to share is probate is not free. Going to court is not free. And it may not be what the person you're trying to help, what their wishes are actually going to be put into action because it's an independent judge who's just listening to whoever shows up who wants to take part.
And I know
Yeah, go ahead.
it's such a sensitive subject, especially for the children, adult children, for example. And that's why I hear a lot. Like I hear from colleagues, oh, I don't know if my parents are prepared where they are in this conversation. I'm like, have you had this conversation with them? Have you found really nice ways or clever ways to start this conversation in families?
Well, the great thing about entering sooner rather than later is we really like to empower and give it's more about the senior client maintaining control. I think there's a misconception oftentimes that if you get a lawyer involved or if you do any planning, that means the person you're planning for loses all control, and it's actually the opposite of that. What actually happens is the senior person gets to make choices, and they get to choose who would stand in, for themselves if they couldn't make this decision, and they get to make choices while they still have the capacity, the ability to make choices, also how they would want to plan for their their death as well as the rest of their life. It's really more about life planning than death planning. And so I think people feel really relieved once they actually start the process and realize that they're not giving up control. So to your question, I think it's more about the adult child starting a conversation about, I want to help you maintain control and make your own choices, and help you live your golden years to the best of your ability, and how you want them to, how you want to be remembered and how you would want the money spent. I want to, and make it a positive conversation. What I find is that often families really come closer together once they start that conversation.
That's really sage advice, and I like how you put that. This is really life planning as opposed to end of life planning. That softens it a bit because I know people can take it the wrong way for sure. What about, for example, when it comes to power of attorney? Let's say that you don't have siblings. What about an only child? Do they automatically get power of attorney if they're the only child?
There's nothing automatic about these powers. So if you don't have any plan in place, it has to go through court. And your choices are, yes, you can use any family member. There's no automatic person that's chosen. And if you want to choose a close friend or an independent person who specializes in helping people, uh, if a corporate fiduciary or something like that, you can make those choices as well. So it's empowering people to know that there are options, but making no choice means there's a court that has to decide.
So that's a good tip for only kids out there that may think have a misconception that it's just automatically going to fall on them because they're the only kid. Because you're, as you
Correct.
mentioned, yeah, it could go to an aunt, an uncle, or something like that. So it would have to go to court. So Nancy, you're a wealth of knowledge. What inspired you to specialize in elder law? How did you get started?
Thanks for asking that question. So actually, I started my practice just within the last year. I was a career prosecutor in the DA's office for 25 years, and have a passion for helping people in my community and making a difference. And I lost both of my parents through kind of natural aging in the last 4 years, between 2017 and 2020. And even though I was an attorney, I didn't know a lot going through that process. I learned it kind of, during the process. And they had a plan in place, which I was really grateful for. But I wasn't aware of there were things we could have done had I known, that may have preserved more of their assets that they had worked so hard for. And so I last year, just prior to the pandemic, decided coincidentally that, I really want to make a difference in this area. From my years of experience personally going through it with my parents, I have so much knowledge to share. And it's a really underserved area. And as our population continues to age, we really need people who are passionate about this. And I have a more holistic practice, so I have lots of um, other resources that I can refer my clients to as well.
Nancy, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask regarding elder law that you find is really important to share with my audience?
Just um, start the process. I think start the conversation if you're and again, it's never too early to plan, and just get started. You're going to get so much more peace of mind once you let go of some of that fear, and it's actually going to empower you rather than make things worse.
Such an important topic. This has been terrific. Nancy, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Nancy Hermansen from Newport Beach, California, elder law attorney. And this segment has been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals publish to inform their consumer, to grow their practice, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for tuning in.